Hey, welcome back to Talking Shop, the Old Testament edition. We are the 6th Sunday after Pentecost. We are in Daniel chapter 12, the first three verses, proper 20-something, 28, 29, something like that. Bob, give us a quick why we should preach Daniel this week instead of Hebrews 10 or Mark 13.
Listen, we should preach Daniel chapter 12 because it is a text that explicitly about the resurrection of the dead and how there was one who made the many just or justified, or the one who made many righteous. And that is the one who approached the Ancient of Days and was worthy enough to open up the book of life. That's Jesus Christ. I mean, why wouldn't you preach on this text? You think to yourself, 3 verses, it's Daniel, I'm scared. Be brave. This is an excellent text to proclaim justification by grace alone, through faith alone, on account of Christ's shed blood, and third-day righteousness alone, but also to preach the glory of the resurrection of the dead, which we all get to experience.
That's beautiful. Almost as beautiful as your sermon will be when you preach Daniel 12 this week.
Spit out my Lord in every way, yet I'm still welcome in the arms of the King.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Shop, the Old Testament edition. We are in Daniel 12, the 26th Sunday after Pentecost. How proper are we? 26 or 27, 28, something like that.
Yeah, proper 28.
Yep. All right, so Daniel 12, all 3 verses.
Yeah, what
verses 1 through 3.
This is a great text. It is the clearest teaching of life after death. It's a great text to go on. It's the climax of these 4 visions that come at the end of Daniel, which the 4 visions are dealing with the Maccabean revolt in the mid-2nd century, the coming of the Messiah, the second coming, the Antichrist. If you have trouble with like Daniel and you're like, I'm going to avoid this because it's all very confusing and frightening, I actually want to disagree. I think that you should push into this text, because fundamentalists make such hay out of this text, and they rob it of all the gospel, all of the good news, that there is a resurrection of the dead, and there is a God who makes his people just. And so if you're looking for a good resource on this, I would say Leupold's, the expository commentary on Daniel. Leupold, Leupold. He's great. He's an old Lutheran, and his commentary is just such... has gobs and gobs of the grace of God in it, which is really great. And so really helping your people have a way of talking about this text that's apart from all the damage that the fundamentalists use it for. But also, when you read this text in the Hebrew, it's going to be really hard Hebrew. And so what I want to recommend, we do this every now and again, like every 3rd episode, 4th episode, we show books that are good. I want to reference I want to give a shout out to reference grammars. Now, we all have the grammars that we learned Hebrew from, but there's actually another layer of grammar called a reference grammar, which deals with really hard stuff, like how to deal with different constructions or different nuances. And this one is by Paul Juan, and it's 3 parts in 2 volumes, and it's really just a great one. If I had one reference grammar on a desert island, I'd want Juan, because he helps to kind of clarify all of those grammatical things that are very, very difficult. So Leupold, expository commentary of Daniel, it's on Logos, right?
It is.
Okay, great. So that's a great resource to get. And really, in Daniel chapter 12, you have a picture of the end of history, and we should preach this because fundamentalists have such a heyday with it, and we need to reclaim it for its strong proclamation of the resurrection of all the dead.
Good. Do we want to go through these 3 verses?
It's going to be tough.
All right.
Let's do it.
Or do you just want to jump to the difficult Hebrew in verse 3 and get to the clincher?
Nah. Let's go through it.
All right.
Yeah, it's the word of God. It's all worth it.
All right.
At that time shall arise Michael, the great prince, who has charge of your people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never has been since there was a nation till that time. But at that time your people shall be delivered, everyone whose name shall be found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever.
Yeah, this is great. This is great. What do you guys think?
I think the written in the book, I'm thinking about baptism.
Oh, that's good. The old Kirchen book, the Taufen book. Yeah, okay.
And that's where our names are written in the book. And to my some of my more Calvinistic friends, that there are some passages about not erasing the name from the book.
Yeah.
That's not the point of this reading.
Well, listen, I think that there might be something there, though. I do not think that you can talk about Daniel chapter 12 without Daniel chapter 7. There is an intentional connection between these two. They're both dealing with that moment of the eschaton when the final judgment happens, but they're tied together by this book of life business.
Yeah.
Right? And so in Daniel chapter 7, you have the Ancient of Days, and he's receiving all the worship and praise at the very end from all peoples everywhere. And then one approaches him like a son of man, and he confers upon him all authority and power. That's all that stuff that belongs to God is on this son of man. And he comes with the clouds, and then the books are opened, right? And so this is really huge. This is a gigantic connection between these two readings, because you cannot separate Daniel 12 from 7, because you cannot separate the end of time and the book of life from the Son of Man, from Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It was Mark's scene of the trial of Jesus before the Sanhedrin, where Jesus himself quotes Daniel 7, and they lose their minds, and reject him, and then ironically go and enact salvation by having him crucified so that he could rise again, which this text deals with as well. Later on, it goes into the strong theme of resurrection. But I think, yeah, you can't have Daniel chapter 12, verse 1 without Daniel chapter 7.
So maybe take a few minutes and unpack Daniel as a whole, and especially chapter 7 and chapter 12 for the people to bring up their Old Testament biblical literacy, especially their Old Testament prophetic biblical literacy.
Yeah, so there's a sermon structure that does this, where you start at the middle as the focal point, and then you do the preceding action, which brings you back to the present, and then extrapolates an anticipated future. So the sermon starts with Daniel chapter 12, and the end of all things, and that's all very cool. And then you go, but in order to understand this, we have to go back to Daniel chapter 7, right? And then that runs back to 12. And then you say, and the place where you saw the Son of Man enacting this is Gospel of Mark, the trial.
That reminds me of those movies. That's me. You're probably wondering how I got here.
Yeah. It's very Quentin Tarantino-ish. Yeah. It starts at the middle. Yeah, good.
Yeah, just the amount of comfort that verse 1, that your name shall be found written in the book, is, as there's a remarkable difference between, watching the news and then being like in the news, right? Being, reading the paper, but then being in the paper, growing up, if the high school ever did something cool, you go read the newspaper and then you'd be like, oh, hey, I'm in the paper. My name is written in the book. And it's a remarkable comfort that the sinner who is, looking for comfort shall already look through the book and see that their name is written in this book.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true.
And also, running back to baptism. It's like, how do I know that I'm saved? I don't always feel saved. How do I know that I'm saved? Well, I have my baptism to hold on to.
But God made some amazing, spectacular promises there.
Totally agree. In verse 2, here is one of the clearest examples of the teaching of the resurrection of the dead in the Old Testament. Like, aside from like Isaiah 26, Psalm 43, or Psalm 49 and Psalm 73, This is very explicit. This is honestly why I think we should preach this text, because it proclaims the resurrection of the dead. And it's on account of the Son of Man who's worthy to open the book and has written your name in the book of life. But like, you have reference to the sleepers. And so you could do like, Jesus when he's referring to that, St. Paul when he's referring to what the experience of death is like. What was it that Luther said? Every time you go to bed, you're experiencing and wake up from your sleep.
You're practicing death and resurrection.
Yeah, exactly. You're practicing death and resurrection. So it's like, it normalizes the tension, you know what I mean? Which is really kind of cool. So.
In verse 3?
Oh, verse 3.
Are you ready to get to verse 3?
Yeah.
All right. And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. Bob, tell us why this is an awful translation.
Oh, it's an awful translation because, there's really three ways you can go. Those who make righteous the many, those who justify the many, those who give righteousness to the many. And I think it's supposed to be referring to the Kukim right here, to the wise ones, to the teachers, which, by the way, Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego are all referred to by this title. But I think that this is where we need to get at the gospel. The one who has made many righteous, the one who has justified the many. This is why the resurrection happens, is because we have been justified. We have been made righteous, not by a bunch of wise guys, so to speak, but by the wisdom of God, by Jesus Christ. He's the one. And I would just actually grab, Sam, from Isaiah 53, he who has made many righteous. Isaiah 53, that great suffering servant, Isaianic kind of moment. And so I would bring in Isaiah 53 here, and just use its language to talk about how the many were made righteous, or the many were justified. By his stripes we are healed. I just think that that's a better way of translating that.
Good.
Yeah. We've been made righteous.
Yes.
Like that. It's a process outside of ourself.
Yes.
And that's another remarkable comfort. That's all gospel. It's like, it's nothing that I do or nothing that I did to earn my name in the book, but it's the one that has made me righteous. That's why my name is found written in the book.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I can't pull myself from my grave.
Yeah, no, you can't. Once you're dead, you are dead.
Yeah, I need someone who can pull me. And I need somebody stronger than Michael, right? Who's at the beginning of our text. And Revelation 12, right? Michael's again there as well. I can't pull myself from my grave. I need someone to pull me out of it. I need someone to justify me, to bring me right before God so I can have life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, and it's just so freeing, It's the fact that it's outside of me.
Yeah.
But it's also a terrible, frightening thing too, as an American, because I want to make myself righteous. I want to follow the checklist. I want to follow the things of the law. But the fact that I'm made righteous by something outside of myself, it's like when I find myself at the end of my rope, when I find myself where I can no longer make myself righteous, I can't ever make myself righteous. I have already been made righteous, and my name is in the book. Yeah. It's written down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's written down.
Americans are practically born pulling on their bootstraps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of American Christianity, in over preaching the law and under preaching the gospel, kind of play into that and build upon Americans pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, and point people back inward on themselves of, well, I'm a good person. I pay my taxes. I'm a good neighbor. I go to church. I pay my tithe. I do all of the good things. Therefore, I'm a good person.
Yeah.
I am righteous. And this outside ourselves is so countercultural.
Yeah.
So it's foreign to the air that we breathe as American Christians. And I mean, I know all of your members listen to Flame, as do mine.
Of course, absolutely.
But when you're talking about this righteousness, I was thinking of Flame and the two kinds of righteousness, 2KR,
oh, yeah.
right? And Kolb. So you can go listen to the rapper Flame and talking about two kinds of righteousness, who's really just echoing, I think, Kolb. But
aren't we all?
Right?
Yeah.
but I also think of Dr. Rosenblatt and any email that I always got from him. Always signed it off
With
with
the completely sufficient righteousness. Yeah.
under the completely sufficient righteousness of Christ.
Yeah.
Christ's righteousness,
Yeah.
not my own.
Yep.
And how much we want to try to add our own righteousness to it, but it's all Christ's righteousness. And so to the one who makes many righteous, not me, but Christ alone.
I love that. That's great. That'll do.
Anything else?
No, that's great.
Closing thoughts, Flame, Dr. Rosenblatt, good ending.
Good ending. That'll do.
Shout out.
All right. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. If you would, please share Craft of Preaching with some fellow preachers, and give us some comments. Tell us what you did with the text. Tell us what was good, what you did not like. Give us some feedback so we can make this a more valuable resource for you. And God bless your preaching.